So with this one, I'm checking the key line, and this ECU is not in the vehicle. So this ECU doesn't use CAN line, it uses K line. So I've set it up for the K line. And with the schematic with Hyundai, I can try from OBD and see the communication that will go on. So let me go OBD. So it's now searching for the OBD, and you can see the communication between the scan tool. So between the scan tool and the ECM. So now it is connected, and you can see it is connected OBD2, and you can see the communication going on that side. So with this one, the vehicle is communicating. Sorry, I said the VCI is communicating with the scan tool, and this is the communication on the scan tool. So you can see it. But let me change the time base on my scopes. So let me increase the time base so that I can get more. So this one also, let me increase the time base. This one is 50, so this one also will be 50. So now I've increased my time base, and you can see the communication. So let me go to live data on the schematic and see. So live data, let me select all and press OK, so that there will be continuous communication between the scan tool and the ECU. So you can see the communication going on. So at live data, this is where the scan tool will be commanding the control unit to get, or will be sending information to the control unit to get information from it. So this is the ECU. This is MT38. So the CAN lines will not be working. So only this K line will be working, and you can see the communication, and you can see the live data also. Now what I want to try is, let me go back. So close this and end the communication. Then let me go back and go to Hyundai. It will be the same communication. So it's Santa Fe CM. This 2009 2010 2.7 liter engine, and I can do any of them, it will work. So now you can see that the communication between the scan tool. So let me go to live data. So live data, and you can see there is a lot of communication, but you can see this communication is a bit plain, but this one I have to expand it, pause it and expand it before you can see the data communication going on with it. So you can see this one, and you can also see this. So this is the communication between the scan to the VCI and the ECU. So let me exit it. So I want to see the communication that goes on when you are writing any data. So with this one, let me select PCM flash. And with my PCM flash, I'm not going to use it with it. Now what Hotel have done is, Hotel have tried, and so for this VCI, now Hotel have sent an update for this VCI to be seen as a J25 device, and it is really good. So I'll do a separate video on that. But before that, let me do this one. So select it, and it has already been selected, and let me click on the identify here, and identifying it, you can see there is communication. The ECM is requesting for identification. It has been done successful, and you can see here that the identification has been done successful, and with the calibration. So let me go to read. Okay, and let me see the kind of communication that goes on. So you can see the communication that goes on, the data that the ECU is requiring from the data that the VCI is requiring from the control unit so that it gets access. So now let me change the time base. This thing is due to the time base. Now let me change the time base so that we can see more of the communication. No, it's really bad, but with this one now it's reading the data. With this one, when I change the time base, it will be a bit plain, just that it is slow. It's not as fast as. So this is the kind of data that is reading. So this is the kind of communication going on between the VCI and the control unit. So with this one, you can see that I'm reading the data from the control board, and this is for K line. So I'll try and see if I can find a control board which is CAN line, and also try and read data. So with this one, they are using the J25 protocol, but this is the protocol 52, but they are using the J25 device to get access. So the J25 device helps you, the ECU, like helps your VCI to communicate with the with the ECM. So the reason why I bought this type is because of the current in there. So the current helps me to know the moment I turn on the two power lines, it helps me to know if the ECU is dead or is alive, because if it is alive, it will be around 5 or 4 amps depending on the manufacturer, and the ECU type. So you can see that there is data transfer going on. So let me change this time base. So one thing I don't like about this scope is for the time base is a bit slower. So with this one, I'm just reading the data. So I'll wait for it to finish reading the data from the system. Then I'll find for a CAN control board and also do that. So you can see that with this one, the time base here is different. So with this one also, I've connected the Think Car VCI, which is also a J25 device. So you can see with this one, it even shows you the sending and the receiving bytes, which has been, or the sending and the receiving byte. So I'll check how fast this one also will be reading. So when you come here, this one they call it J25 plus. So I'll select the J25 plus. So that's it. Then I'll go to identification to identify the ECU. So you can see the communication from the VCI, and you can see this VCI also shows the number, the bytes or sent or the bytes received. So now what I'll do is telling me field. Oh, sorry. Let me reset the. So now after recycle the ignition, let me get to identify and see if it will be able to identify the ECU. So now it's able to identify the ECU. So now let me go to read and start to read the data. So okay, then you can see this one also, the data reading is a bit different, although it has not started reading yet. So now it's now transferring the boot and other things. So you can see also the number of bytes that are being sent and being received. So now that it has started reading the data, you can see that this waveform is different, and you can see that this waveform, you are getting the frequency around 3.57 kilohertz. It's not going that fast like the other one. We can get 12 and 13 and 9 kilohertz, but this one you are getting around 9 or 6 or 7 kilohertz. It's not even getting up to 9, and you can see it's around 2.3 or 7. So this one is reading a bit faster like the other one. And when you come to this one also, you can see I'm getting the same kilohertz like the other one, the same hertz, which is telling me the speed. So this one, the reason why it helps me to identify the speed is you can see the frequency. Normally I use frequency as speed because it is the to and flow of the waveform. So the number of times the waveform appears, and all of them are having the same settings. You can see 10 milliseconds and also 5 volts per division. And you can see what the VCI is doing to the device, because it's allowing all the system to communicate. So that means this one is a bit faster like the other one. So what I'll do now is I'll also try the auto VCI and also see the speed that I'll be getting from it. So I'll cancel this one and try the auto VCI, and you can see the number of bytes that so far I've sent and the number of bytes that I've received. So this is one of the things that I like about this VCI. So it tells you the number of bytes sent and the number of bytes received. So I'll change this VCI also and plug in another VCI. So now I've connected the auto JVCI, which comes with the IM. So now what I'll do is with the auto, I'll select from this side. I'll select from this side. This Massive Flash JVCI. So this one I'll select Massive Flash JVCI, and the new IM that came out this year came out with the JVCI Plus. That's the one with the CAN FD and the DOP protocols. So now with this one, what I'll do now is I'll try and identify the ECU. So now you can see my VCI is communicating, and I'll wait for it to identify the ECU. If not, then that means I have to reset. So I have to turn the ignition off and the power off, then wait for a while and turn it back on because it entered into a boot mode, which was trying to read the data. So now that I've powered it back on, you can see I had failed here. I had a failure, so I'll identify it again and it should be able to communicate with it for me to get the information on the ECU. So tried this VCI and it couldn't work. It's not able to communicate with the system. It's not even able to identify. It's not even able to identify the unit. So I'll use the V200 from Autel and see the speed also, because when you try identifying it fails, and I've tried with the scan tool also, it's still failing, and I don't know why it's failing to read from the key from the key line. I can't tell, and it has failed. So I'll change it to the V200. So now I have selected the V200 and let me go to identification. So you can see the moment it beeps, it connects and it's able to communicate with it. And let me go to read DTC and it's able to communicate with the system. So let me start the reading procedure. Then it asks me, okay, but I don't know how I'll have done it, but this thing keeps increasing voltage. So you can see it is 12.6 and you can see it is 11.9. It increased voltages, so anytime you are working with it, you should be a bit careful with it. And you can see that this bar is reading faster, and you can see on the scope also it is reading faster. So when it gets to the real time for the real data to be read from the control unit, that's where you see this device is slower here, because when you check the frequency, this frequency is around 3.8 kilohertz, and it is also around the same kilohertz here. And you can see that first you see them moving faster, but now it looks like only one that is moving per time because of the frequency which is being changed, because the time base is still the same and the voltage is still the same, but just that the frequency is what has changed. So you can see the way you are reading the data. That means this one can read the data and write everything for you, but it is quite slowly, and you can see it from the status bar that it is slow. So now the schematic pro is the one that is faster, and it wins the match. And I don't know if it is because this software is built for that, but even that, here you select an interface, so any fast J25 device should work perfectly. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.